Getty. Boris Johnson and EU officials have called for European companies to be spared from US sanctions in a letter signed by the finance and foreign ministers of the UK, France and Germany, and the EU's foreign policy chief Federica Mogherini. The officials expressed their concerns at potential financial hardship from US sanctions. Commenting on the proposed U.S. sanctions, the EU officials stated, in their current state, U.S. secondary sanctions could prevent the European Union from continuing meaningful sanctions relief to Iran. As allies, we expect that the United States will refrain from taking action to harm Europe's security interests. We expect that the extraterritorial effects of U.S. secondary sanctions will not be enforced on EU entities and individuals, they noted. Without relevant sanctions relief, Iran has threatened to withdraw from the deal as well. EU officials said the JCPOA was the best means to prevent a nuclear-armed Iran. Theresa May met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Downing Street. As allies, we expect that the United States will refrain from taking action to harm Europe's security interests. The officials commented on the danger of this outcome, stating, an Iranian withdrawal from the JCPOA would further unsettle a region where additional conflicts would be disastrous. They added the deal was the best means through which we can prevent a nuclear-armed Iran, and stated there appeared to be no credible alternatives at this time. The letter was sent to U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and demands key UK sectors including pharmaceuticals and healthcare are not threatened by the sanctions. However, the U.S. administration has signified its intentions to pressure Iran with stronger sanctions into agreeing to an entirely new deal which would include the nation's support for terrorism in its ballistic missile program. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo commented on renewed sanctions in May, stating, the sting of sanctions will be painful if the regime does not change its course from the unacceptable and unproductive path it has chosen to one that rejoins the League of Nations. These will indeed end up being the strongest sanctions in history. When we are complete, after our sanctions come into full force, it will be battling to keep its economy alive. Iran will be forced to make a choice, either fight to keep its economy off life support at home or keep squandering precious wealth on fights abroad. It will not have the resources to do both. However, Ms. Mogherini rejected his statements, saying, Secretary Pompeo's speech has not demonstrated how walking away from the JCPOA has made or will make the region safer from the threat of nuclear proliferation, or how it puts us in a better position to influence Iran's conduct in areas outside the scope of JCPOA. Theresa May has also dismissed calls for the UK to withdraw from the JCPOA following a tense meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Mr. Netanyahu has mounted fresh attempts to persuade the leaders of France, Germany and the UK to withdraw from the deal during his 4-day European tour this week. However, Mrs. May said, we will remain committed to it as long as Iran meets its obligations. Along with France and Germany, the UK continues to believe that is the best route to preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, but we do recognize that there are other issues that need to be addressed in relation to Iran, its destabilizing regional activity. President Trump described the JCPOA as the worst deal ever, and UK businesses could face billions of pounds in lost revenue following the US's withdrawal and re-implementation of stringent sanctions.